Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mila. You're at my book nook. It's been a minute. You're also gonna get like an onslaught of vlogs that have been in the backlog, so to speak, because, drumroll please, if you're following me on Instagram, you will already know, but your girl got a new computer. Not sponsored, by the way, but if Apple wants to sponsor me, wouldn't say no. So, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my computer, and also I think you're a little too high. I don't like how high it is. Hold on. I don't like that either, but I'll have to do for now. Please ignore whatever is going on with the hair. I can't really tell if it's fine or not. I'll have to figure it out once I am editing. So today we have the July to December books for the Musaeum Society Book Club. If this is your first video, hi, welcome. My name is Mila. I run the Musaeum Society Book Club and I call it the chillest book club on earth. Meaning that I give you books for each month, but you don't have to follow that sort of list. And it's because I can't really do TBRs, or at least ones that I've spoken aloud about. But for those that do like to do TBRs and that do want to join us in reading the books, that's why I have structured it the way that I did. This year, what's been different from previous years, I believe it's been 2 to 3 years of me doing this sort of book club situation, is that we're reading a fantasy release or a newish fantasy release, so to speak, and a classic every month, as well as there's a nonfiction list. And there's going to be some changes in 2027 in regards to especially the nonfiction list. So that's that, and I will link down the January to June announcement below and in the pinned comment, I guess. That's how it goes nowadays. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I don't look stupid and my hair is a mess. So if you want to know what books we were supposed to read in January to June, or what other options there are, I would recommend you check that out down below. I will have all the links, including the Substack post and all that stuff, linked down below as well. So if you want to go check that out and stuff like that and have this sort of running in the background and all that. So this is the July to December book picks. The reason why I sort of separate it is because that the choices for each month, or at least for the fantasy books, is dependent on their release date. And I want to take into account that not everyone has access to the books on release date, and also not immediately after release date. And most people are using libraries, they're using ebook versions. So I wanted to give enough time for these books to be acquired by the people that are doing the book club. Not that there's many of us, but just something that I wanted to keep in mind personally. So as I said, we have 2 books per month. So we have a fantasy release and a classic. And there's a slight caveat with the August fantasy book, because the August fantasy book, and we'll get to that in a moment, is an older fantasy book, but I do have an option for a newer fantasy book if you have difficulty finding that specific book. So if you want to know ahead of time what the books are, Storygraph will be linked down below, all that good stuff, link down below, knock yourself out. So we come to the month of July. So we have Year of the Mer by L.D. Lewis. This is the first actually in a duology, which I did not know, so my apologies. And this is apparently following like the granddaughter of Ariel, and stuff happens, I guess. So she's a human granddaughter of Ariel, as far as I'm understanding. And then for our classic, we have Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I watched the movie was it this year? I don't remember. I watched the movie, the one that has Kate Winslet and Emma Thompson in it, and I really loved it, and I really want to read this, so I chose it for the July pick. Next, we have August, and this is the caveat. So the book that I have is Rusalka by C.J. Cherryh, and I actually have it. Where do I have it? I don't know where it is. Anyways, we have Rusalka by C.J. Cherryh, and this is an older fantasy release, I believe. Let me just double check when. It was published in 1989, and it's really difficult to find physical copies. If you're someone who does prefer physical copies, I do have a way to read it as an ebook, by the way. That does consist of Sailing the Seven Seas, but in my defense, no libraries do not have it. There's no way to buy the ebook, nothing. So unfortunately, that's how it is. However, the fantasy release, if you don't want to read Rusalka, The fantasy release that we will also be reading, which I've already read, is The River She Became by Emily Varga. This is releasing in June, so it's just a perfect amount of time, so to speak, because it's releasing in June, so you'll have plenty of time to put it on hold and all that stuff, or request it from your library, or put a pre-order in or stuff like that, and pre-orders are very important. So if you do want to read Rusalka, let me know, and you can send me a DM, whatever, right? And then I will show you how you can get it. If you don't want to read Rusalka, or for whatever reason, then please look forward to the release of The River She Became. So, Rusalka is based on Russian folklore fairy tales, specifically Russian because it's set in it's set in Old Russia, I think. I don't know if it's Kievan Rus, but it's set in Old Russia and follows this character who meets this Rusalka, which is similar to a siren in a sense, and then they sort of go into these adventures, I guess, to, I think, bring her back. I believe she was wrongfully killed or something like that. And then the classic, that was long-winded. The classic we have for August is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. This is one that I have several copies of this book, and I'm determined to read it this year. So this one follows a scientist, I think. Wow, it doesn't even give a proper description. That's very odd. Anyways, if you've heard about Captain Nemo and the Nautilus, this is where Captain Nemo is from. Then in September, we have The Republic of Memory by Mahmud El-Said, and this is another duology, which is a bummer. And I'm realizing that now. I chose these a long time ago, actually, quite a while ago. I want to say mid-April, late April probably. So The Republic of Memory is this Arab futurism sort of book. It's science fiction specifically-ish, and we follow this spaceship that's going to the other planet, like a colony, so to speak, and humans, like the older generation, sort of are in cryostasis or whatever it's called, and then their sort of descendants, in a sense, are taking care of them, but then there's just these random blackouts, and it's like this revolution starting to build up, so I'm very excited to read that. The September book for classics is a little bit different compared to all the other ones. However, in my defense, there is a Penguin Classics version of this. It's specifically Penguin Classics version of this, so I feel like that counts. And it is Russian Magic Tales from Pushkin to Platonov. It is translated by Robert Chandler, Elizabeth Chandler, and Sibyllin Forrester. And this is basically a collection of fairy tales of Russian, specifically short stories and folk tales, again, from Pushkin. So Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin, who is like founding father of Russian poetry, to Platonov, who later poet. It's just like a collection of stories. And I'm really excited to read this one. I finally got a copy to go to this very specific bookstore to actually get a copy. And I'm excited for this. So that is September. Then in October, someone called me. I think anyone called me. In October, sorry, I'm just gonna move this. Wow, why didn't y'all tell me I was crooked? Anyways, in October, we have The Witch Daughter by Tanaz Bhathena. And this is a sort of retelling, continuation-ish story of the tragedy of Sohrab and Sam, and it follows Princess Takhmina, or Takhmine, however you want to call it, and she appears in the Shahnameh. She's the wife of Rustam, and sort of at some point, father and son are in a sense separated, and they end up seeing each other on opposite ends of battle. So they're on opposite sides. And Takhmina is like a witch in a sense. And I'm very excited to read this because I've been slowly reading through the Shahnameh, and it's very exciting. And for those that don't know what the Shahnameh is, it's the Persian Book of Kings, which I sort of explain it as the Odyssey, the Iliad combined, because it's longer than the Odyssey as well as the Iliad. It's very long. And if you put on all the Greek heroes like Jason, Theseus, Heracles, Perseus, all of them, and then you just make it Persian, then that's the Persian Book of Kings. Then we have in October, which I feel like is fitting, we have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And I actually have 2 copies of Frankenstein. I have this really cool, I have the Penguin Classics version, and I have this really cool edition. Let me see if I can find it. Sorry guys, it's a little bit of a mess here. I don't know where it is right now. Where did it go? Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. I have this really cool edition. It's also the 1818 text, so it's just really cool edition. I really like the simplicity of it, I guess, and I got this for very cheap. But holy cow, the pages are so white. Do you see how white those pages are? Anyways, we continue. So Frankenstein, I thought it would be fitting for October, and I've been wanting to... Sorry, hold on a second. I need to grab my tea. You guys want to see this mug I have? It's an Odyssey mug. My boyfriend got it for me. He thought I didn't notice, though. So for October, I felt like reading Frankenstein would be very fitting. Then we have November, and we have Bodies of Magic by Freya Marske. And I don't think this is pure fantasy like some of the others, I guess. Although not everything is pure fantasy. Republic of Memory is science fiction, so... But apparently, I think this is a dark academia fantasy, so to speak. So we're following a group of characters that go for this grand exam and this 5-day trial, and apparently there's a dead body. So I have to figure out what the hell happened and hopefully pass. And the classic, which is also, there's a caveat to this one because it's technically not a classic, it's like a modern classic, so to speak. And for November we have, and I felt like since it's getting colder and usually people tend to read mysteries around that time, I felt it would be fitting to read the only Agatha Christie, and we have Murder on the Orient Express, which I actually read it. I didn't remember, and I didn't realize that I had chosen it as a book for the book club until after I went to put it in my reading journal. I was like, oh, hold on a second, I actually read this. So this is what I mean by the chillest book club on earth. You can read these out of order. Obviously, the ones that are published this year, it's a little harder to do unless you have like ARC, so you can read it like 3 months ahead of time. But so we have Murder on the Orient Express for our November classic. And then in December, we have Tempest by Victoria Aveyard. This is her pirate... I don't know if it's a duology. But I do believe it's a series. I think it's a duology. I'm not too sure. But this is apparently like pirate fantasy. I don't want to say it's romantasy. I don't think it's romantasy. It's set in a world inspired by the golden age of piracy, follows a former noblewoman facing execution for treason, unless she helps the ruling empire capture their most wanted enemy, the last great pirate captain, and the only man she has ever loved. So it's given Fable, which I haven't really read, but it's giving Fable and Daughter of the Pirate King. That's what it's giving me. And then lastly, for our classic, again with a slight caveat that this isn't the classic that you traditionally see on lists. It is a classic. It's considered a classic because the other book by this author also popped up on this list, and you'll get what I mean in a second. But it's not as popular in English. I think it's very popular in Russian. It's the more popular book in Russian, but it's not as popular and not really as talked about or as known in English. So, and that is In Search of the Castaways by Jules Verne, or Jules Verne, whatever you want to call it. And this basically follows 2 kids who their dad went on this trip, and so they get wind of this message that popped up in the belly of a fish, a shark. And so the lady and the lord that sort of found the bottle take them to find the dad. So Messenger Bottle launches a quest for the recovery of shipwrecked crew in this Jules Verne classic. When Lord and Lady Glenarvan catch a shark during a sailing trip, they are surprised to find a message in a bottle within its belly, sent by Captain Grant of the shipwrecked Britannia. Unfortunately, the water-damaged note is mostly unreadable, giving any would-be rescue only latitude and no longitude to work with. Eager to help the castaways, the siblings, the couple urges the British government to launch a rescue expedition, but are refused. So they take it upon themselves to search for Grant with the help of Mary and Robert, Captain Grant's children, and the crew of the Duncan. Thus the group sets off, determined to find the shipwrecked crew, even if it means sailing across the entire 37th latitude, and facing whatever dangers lie in their path. So I'm very excited to read that as well, and I hope you are as well. As usual, all the links will be down below. And just to recap what the nonfiction books are for the latter half. So that's quarter 1, quarter 2. For quarter 3 and 4, we have The Amazons, The Lives and Legends of Warrior Women Across the Ancient World by Adrienne Mayer. We have The 7 Wonders of the Ancient World by Bethany Hughes. And our bonus book is The Science of Middle-earth, A New Understanding of Tolkien and His World. And then for quarter 4, we have Lost Enlightenment, Central Asia's Golden Age from the Arab Conquest to Tamerlane by S. Frederick Starr, Thebes, The Forgotten City of Ancient Greece by Paul Cartledge, and our bonus book is The Cleopatra, The Forgotten Queens of Egypt by Lloyd Welland Jones. So, as usual, all the links will be down below, all the Storygraph stuff. I have a list for the nonfiction where in one list the bonus book is a bonus book, meaning it's not counted towards the total. And then I have another challenge where the bonus book is a regular book in case you do want to have it counted towards a challenge. I have the Storygraph challenges for all the Musaeum Society Book Club books and all that stuff. So yeah, so I hope you enjoy it and I hope you join us. If you do want to join us, go follow me on my Instagram and then you can join like the Instagram channel. So it's not as chatty as I would hope it would be, but it's something. So I will see you in the next one, and I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next one. And as usual, what are we gonna say?
Happy reading.